So, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition is out, and we have some notes. As you probably have seen if you're on social media, the game has its problems. In our Before You Buy video, we admit we were having fun, but the technical issues really get in the way, and it can be disappointing. In this video right here, we're going to detail the problems specifically, and what we want fixed, and we've got 20 things, so let's get started. If you want a perfect example of how this definitive edition trilogy thing wasn't given enough care, then look no further than this. In GTA 3, there's a spot in the northern part of Portland near the tunnel that connects to Staten Island. There's a spot with absolutely no collision. It's just a big hole that you can drive into. It looks like there's grass there, but there isn't. Drive your car to it and you'll fall through every time. And this isn't like some kind of trick of us like doing it and driving a special way or something. All you have to do is just go to this particular spot and you'll fall through the world every time. How they missed this, we have no idea. Next, over at number 19, let's talk the character models. A lot of the new character models look fine, and we said in our video that we actually like how they look, but some characters didn't get as much love as others. A lot of the side characters, yikes, some of them look less detailed than they originally did. Of course, the biggest one you've probably seen memed is Denise, the first girlfriend you can get. In the original game, she looked pretty distinct. You know, she looked like her own character. Now, the definitive version of her, it's bad. Something must have been lost in translation here. Next, over at number 18, let's talk about some of the messed up animations, because there are some points where the models just don't look good at all. The problem seems to come from like the new models using the old animations, and even though it's a remaster and not a full remake, it's a 20-year-old game and the animations really show their age. The most obvious example probably is the one with Ryder riding a bike during the first mission of San Andreas. His arms are all like freaky and slender man-y and distended. It just doesn't look good. That's not the only example of this thing happening in the game, but it's one of the funniest. For us personally, another one that we didn't really like is CJ's neck, specifically when he's using certain guns. It looks really weird. It's definitely a problem with the new character model over the old stuff, but yeah, it's a little distracting, and we hope that gets fixed. Now, next, over at number 17, we have to talk about the rain. Almost feel like we got to put like an epilepsy warning before this. It's that bad. This is a big one, and it could potentially be an easy fix. Sometimes the rain looks absolutely terrible in the Definitive Edition trilogy. You probably remember this was a big highlight for us in the Before You Buy video. It's just so thick and loud and covers the whole screen, and it gets legitimately hard to see, especially in GTA 3. This actually hurts the fun, and it makes it so you can't see when it's raining pretty hard, but like not in a realistic way, in a broken way. This will probably be fixed the soonest, as everyone has been complaining about this and modders have already fixed it. Shout out to them. But yeah. Next, over at number 16, one big feature used to sell the Definitive Edition was the improved draw distance. You could see pretty much the entire game world now instead of just a few yards in front of you. And now, for the most part, it's a huge improvement, and we were pretty excited to see it at first, but it does have the negative effect of making the world seem small. You know, get up high enough and you can see all of San Andreas now, and the world looks kind of like a little model more than a real place, and it kind of ruins the immersion of being in an entire state. Now, this one isn't so bad. This is a bit more of a nitpick, and again, like we said before, it's not a full remake, it's just a remaster, but still, it's something that's definitely bothering people, and if they just at least added the ability or the option to have some fog in the game, that would make some people happy. Next, over at number 15, here's another thing about this remaster that is sometimes just enemies get super accurate. Apparently, it's some kind of bug where enemies have the same accuracy as they would have if they were in a car, where, you know, in a car, enemies are supposed to be pretty accurate, but on foot, they're not supposed to be that good. But with the Definitive Edition, it seems like a lot of the time they are crack shots all of the time. Now, this is one bug that may already be fixed or be fixed quickly, but right now it's hard to say, but it is a thing that some of us here experienced, where certain sections felt a lot harder than we remember them being. And this whole deal does seem to be the reason why. Next, over at number 14, even though this is a next generation release, it is strange to see low quality buildings and terrain so easily. You know, you'd think that they'd push the draw distance way back, but in a lot of ways it feels almost identical to the original games on the PS2. You know, we've got next-gen consoles, and I don't think anyone expected to see these lower quality distance models again, considering how low poly all the buildings are anyway. But hey, it's just another weird thing with the draw distance, because let's move on over to number 13, where there's still a lot of pop-in. Even with the improved draw distance and everything else they've done, there's still just a ton of pop-in, and rocks and trees, pedestrians and cars start appearing when you're really close to them sometimes. It's something that's pretty easy to notice, of course, if you're going really fast in a car, which is a little bit more normal, but like when you're flying around on a helicopter or an airplane, it really stands out and it's a bit too much. It's unfortunate. Next, over at number 12, we got to talk about the disappearing bridges. Can't believe this is still a thing, because this was an issue we definitely remember running into back with the PlayStation 2 versions, but there are still times where you're driving around and stuff will completely fail to appear or show up in your game. Sometimes it's really important stuff too, like specifically, bridges sometimes will just not appear. Now, you could still drive over them, but they're invisible bridges, you know? What is going on here? Next, over at number 11, you know, on top of the normal graphical glitches, there seems to be a lot of new problems with mission scripting that we've noticed. Like this one mission called Pier 69. You're supposed to kill a guy at the end of the pier, you know, okay, but then the cutscene will sometimes completely bug out and just get stuck there, like the mission scripting just stopped working. Now, we've seen tons of examples of this kind of thing on Reddit, but this is the only time we were able to get footage of something actually happening. You know, at least with San Andreas, there are mid-mission saves, so it's not the worst thing, but it's still annoying for you to have to restart a mission just because the game crapped out on you. Which leads us to number 10. On top of the general bugginess of the missions, we've had all 3 games in the trilogy just straight up crash multiple times. A lot of times for no reason. You know, like one time we were standing around, left the game running for a few minutes idle, and then it just suddenly crashed. Once again, the saving and auto saves are a lifesaver for this sort of thing. That's a nice upgrade, you know, so there's not a ton of lost progress, but it still sucks, and we really expected something more stable. Next, over at number 9, this is a very nitpicky thing, but some of the weapon icons in Vice City are different. Now, instead of using the original ones from Vice City, the developers just reused the picture for some of the guns from GTA 3. Stuff like pistol and sniper rifle look different in both games, but the picture is the same. Like we said, it's a small thing, but it just goes to show how little care was put into stuff like this, you know, to keep the remasters authentic to the original versions of the games. Next, over at number 8, another example of just kind of lame corner cutting. Lance Vance gets an updated model in the game like every other major character in Vice City, except for one specific example. When you do the mission Copland, where Tommy and Lance steal some police uniforms, they made a new model for Tommy in a police uniform, but they didn't for Lance. It's just his original model. They didn't even paste his new head onto an old cop uniform. They just didn't change it at all. Next, over at number 7, for some reason the HDR settings on this game seem pretty screwed up. There's absolutely no way to adjust them in-game, so if you've got an HDR screen, then it's very possible that the game will be both way too bright and way too dark at the same time, and it doesn't always look that good. Rockstar has screwed up HDR in the past. We remember it kind of being a problem with Red Dead Redemption 2. Here, the only way to fix it is to turn off HDR on your whole system, which shouldn't be the only way to fix this issue. We are really asking for more actual HDR settings for these games. Next, over at number 6, waypoints are a great feature, and they do make this game a lot better, but it can be annoying when sometimes they just don't work. For certain missions, waypoints just stop showing up for no clear reason, and the game just refuses to show you where to go, even if you put down custom ones too. It seems like a thing that comes and goes, but when it happens, you realize just how big of an addition they really were. We just would prefer if they actually worked all of the time. Maybe it's a choice to have them flip-flop on and off for certain things, we don't know, but it just still is weird. Now, over at number 5, maybe one of the strangest ones we've encountered. For some reason, cars will get stuck together, even though they're not actually touching. We don't know why this happens, but we'll admit it can be kind of hilarious. The car follows you like it's attached by an invisible tow cable or something. It's bizarre. This one is rare, we will admit, so it's not top priority, but it's weird, and we also just wanted to show it. And at number 4, here's another totally benign but still dumb thing that we've seen. There's a marker in the game world that doesn't do anything. You can see it for yourself in Blueberry Acres. It's a little glowing spot that just doesn't seem to do anything. Now, one Redditor named Belle Tristel offered an explanation for it. It's the absolute center of the map, and it's a test marker of some kind. That's the most plausible explanation that we've heard. Either way, this doesn't need to be here, and it's kind of funny that they just left it in. Now, over at number 3, in general, flying and helicopters haven't given us too much trouble in the Definitive Edition, but some of the changes are weird, straight up. Like the RC plane controls in the mission supply lines. It was never easy to fly, but the controls feel so much worse here. You know, we can barely keep this stupid plane straight in this game. They definitely made supply lines easier to finish in this version, but the simple act of flying around is so much more difficult here. RC helicopter controls are bizarre too. Like, it just doesn't feel good at all to fly, and many people are saying the same thing about the other flying vehicles in these games. Not sure what they did, but the controls for flying just don't feel right sometimes. Now, down to number 2, if there's one concrete, definite thing we seriously want fixed, it's the stuttering and the slowdown. It can be ridiculous sometimes. These are still technically like 20-year-old games at this point, and the visual effects they're adding aren't seemingly too crazy, so there's no reason that these games shouldn't at least be able to run at a consistent 60 FPS on the next-gen hardware. The performance just isn't nearly as good as it should be, and it's something that we hope they fixed as soon as possible. Now, down at number 1, of course, we have to bring up all the songs and music that have been taken out of the original games. Even the digital versions of these old ones had songs removed, so it's no surprise to us that there's some stuff missing here. But it sucks, like we would have liked to have seen a couple of new songs added. We understand rights things and issues like that between artists and licensing. It gets messed up sometimes. But instead of any like decent replacements or anything, the game just has significantly less music altogether, and it's unfortunate. Now, this is one that we doubt they'll fix. We did want to just point it out though, and it is a bit of a bummer. But these are 20 things that we would like to see fixed in the game. We want to hear from you guys in the comments what you'd like to see fixed. If you jumped in, if you didn't ask for a refund and you're holding on, what are you thinking? What do you like to see would be upgraded? How much fixes need to be had for you to have more fun? Let us know anything you want about these games down in the comments. And if you like this video and maybe it helped you out or informed you at all, clicking the like button helps us out. We would very much appreciate that. But if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. And either way, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.